Welcome to the ultimate Pokemon investing guide. Since the 90s, Pokemon has taken the world by storm, but little did they know how iconic it would become. In terms of the guide, I'm looking for this video to be something you can revisit and rewatch depending on what you need. So feel free to save this in a playlist so you can come back to it. I'd also probably like to say that keeping this fun is the key to it being successful. Collectibles and Pokemon investing should sit in your happy money part of your investment. And now that is a great book, by the way, if you're into that sort of thing, from Ken Honda. He talks about the importance of money EQ versus money IQ. Now, moving along, to preface why I got into Pokemon investing, it starts with a story from a mentor I learned from. He explained to me when he was 30, his business took off and he started making serious money. Pretty much, he made more money than he knew what he could do with. I know, it seems like a pretty good position to be in, right? So he thought he should begin investing. So he sought assistance from his business associates, friends, and even professionals to suggest what stocks and investments he should buy. All the while, he followed and implemented the advice, and he noticed over the years, some started performing well and some he was losing money on. And as time went on, he was disappointed as they weren't working out as he anticipated. However, something very interesting happened parallel to this. He was also a massive art collector. And while investing in these stocks, which he was getting professional advice for, he was collecting artworks purely as a hobby. And over the years, he started noticing something interesting. His artwork collection started rising, and not only rising, but being more consistent than a lot of his other investments, and he rarely lost money on his art collectibles. Now, this wasn't because his artworks are immune to loss. It was due to the fact that he had specific knowledge regarding them and he was intentional with his purchasing decisions. He had information that others didn't because it was just a genuine hobby of his and he spent time studying it. So he began doubling down and started focusing on his art collection, and he started taking it as a serious part of his investment portfolio. His art collection now is worth millions of dollars and has increased steadily over the years. In fact, it's now the most successful portion in his investment portfolio. It sounds crazy to the outside, but really it's simple. The safest investment is the one you truly understand. So his biggest piece of advice is always invest in what you truly understand. The problem he noticed was he was investing in areas he had no idea about. There was no specific knowledge on the subjects. It was just what others told him to do, and this led to some wins and a lot of failures. So he became very focused on one saying: only invest in what you truly understand. The main takeaway from this is he had knowledge about a topic which gave him confidence in his purchasing decisions, and knowledge accumulated over decades of research. So the choices of his artwork selection were intelligent and educated. The advice of only invest in what you truly understand has always stuck with me. Because it wasn't that the art collections were inherently a good investment choice or the stocks that he bought were bad. The key was that he understood the field he was investing in. So on a personal level, I know Pokemon really well. I know it real well because it's been a hobby of mine since I was 4 years old. And after a quarter of a century of playing every game, completing nearly every Pokedex, even before the internet, and just collecting and being immersed in the franchise for over 2 decades, I've seen the ups and downs, but I've become confident in the strategies and my decisions around it, and I've also learned what makes certain products perform better than others. There are hidden gems all over, but you just need to know where to look. So as you can imagine, you can't just buy any Pokemon card or any Pokemon set and expect a profit. There are certain specifics and nuances which make some items more profitable than others. Just to be very clear, I'm not going to actually be telling you anything what to invest in. That's not what this video is about. I'm just giving you the basics of how Pokemon investing works and the general rules around it to give you a starting point. So here we go. So how does Pokemon investing work? Pokemon investing works like any other form of investing, purchasing something with the hope that it will eventually rise in value. Of course, like any other investment, there is risk, and Pokemon is not immune to market crashes or items just tanking in value. 2023 was arguably the biggest crash for a lot of Pokemon products, and some surefire cards had tremendous crashes, which surprised even the biggest collectors, including me. The most simple explanation for how Pokemon investing works is that sets and cards release in a certain time period, and these sets are usually printed for a limited time. There's usually only a specific window of when items can be purchased until Pokemon decide to move on to another set. Once they move on, the previous sets are usually just left in the past. However, during the time when the products are available at retailers and stores, there's really nothing that special about them. They're readily available, You can buy them really easily. However, as time goes on, some of the rare cards in these products, along with the sealed products, become harder and harder to find. And when production ends and they are out of print, these start becoming more expensive and difficult to acquire. As years go on, collectors and people in the hobby begin getting nostalgic for the sets, and then they want to revisit these cards and these products. When this happens, some of the rare cards and products begin rising in value far beyond what they retailed for. So put simply, if you bought these products when they were available, you're hoping as time goes on, the market demand for them increases while the supply begins running out. Of course, this takes a very long time and it can also backfire. It's not a sure bet, but I mean, that's the general idea of it. Now, when looking at the types of investing, there's a few, but to make this video super simple, there is only 3 areas I'm going to focus on really: sealed investing, singles investing, and graded cards. There's a few other areas, but for the sake of simplicity, we'll only be looking at these 3. You can check out my other videos on my channel if that interests you. Number 1 is sealed investing. Now, sealed investing is purchasing unopened products and holding onto them. Now in Pokemon, there's sealed booster packs. There's sealed booster boxes, which is 36 booster packs inside. There's sealed collection boxes and much more. The whole point of sealed products is that they haven't been opened. They're like these little mystery boxes. Now, sealed has a certain allure about it because in each Pokemon set, there are these cards known as chase cards. Now, these chase cards are very rare, and because of their rarity, they can sell for high prices. So some cards straight out of the packet can hit prices well above 200 US and even more. Now, this all depends on how rare the card is and how many people are looking to acquire it. So while a booster box may cost $110, you may open the 36 packs and pull 1 or 2 of the chase cards in the set. You can actually then sell the cards for more than you paid for the booster box. But don't be fooled, this is super unlikely to pull the card, and for some reason everyone tries to pull the chase card, including myself. You can probably see that this is actually more like gambling than investing, so I definitely don't recommend opening packs to try hit chase cards. However, people are constantly ripping open packs, so sealed product starts becoming more and more scarce. And because print runs are limited and set to a certain time, as the years go on, these sealed products can actually become very expensive because the chase cards inside the packs have increased, along with the fact that you can't actually buy the product anymore. So when sealed products are officially out of print, they very slowly begin rising in value, or at least that's the kind of idea behind it. So take a booster box released in 2021 known as Evolving Skies. Evolving Skies retailed for around 110 to 120 US. However, the chase cards inside currently sell for around $500. Now, a little less than 3 years later, and the sealed booster box of Evolving Skies sells for around $500 per box. That's almost a 5 times increase. So as you can see, if you held onto a few sealed boxes of Evolving Skies back in 2021, you would have made some nice profit today if you sold them. Or you could potentially continue holding and even make more, or even lose the gains that you've made. That's the general risk with investing. Of course, also don't forget, there's also some Pokemon products released before Evolving Skies that haven't had the same rise in value. So it's very much about being selective with what you buy. Just because it's a Pokemon product doesn't mean it's a sure bet that it's going to rise. Now, moving on to singles investing. Singles investing is purchasing single copies of cards. Now, some singles obviously sell for more than others, and it's all dependent on how rare they are. Now, what makes a card rare is how hard it is to pull from a pack, how much market demand there is, how useful the card is in the actual trading card game. If you're being played, is it being used in the meta? How much hype there is around this card. There's all these different things that make a card valuable, and all these factors contribute to the price of a single. And some people purchase singles and keep them in good quality stored away, hoping that they will increase. However, singles do have some drawbacks. One of them is that they don't really have an established retail price point, meaning it's just a free market. Because of this, they can be quite volatile and be unpredictable. A sealed booster box has a base point in the market. It retails for a certain price, whereas singles have nothing to go from. That's why there's instances of singles completely tanking in value, and there's also circumstances when singles have just rose exponentially with people not being able to catch them quick enough. However, you can't just buy singles and think they're gonna rise. So when you're buying singles, you may see letters next to them on eBay, or if you're buying them online, as M, NM, LP, MP, HP, or DMG. I'm gonna put a graphic now for what these abbreviations mean, but if you want to invest, you obviously want to go for M and NM, which is mint and near mint. Now, some people say there is an excellent condition which sits between near mint and light played, but I wouldn't bother with that. Anything that doesn't make a card near mint should be downgraded to light played as a safety measure. Both you should do that as a seller and as a buyer. Now, moving on to graded cards. Graded cards are cards that have been sent to a professional company which assesses the quality of your cards. They are reviewed individually and they are given a score between 1 to 10. 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest. So for the sake of this video, I'm not going to go into which companies you should grade with. I do have some other videos where I explain that and I'm going to link that there. But if you want to watch that, feel free. Now, graded cards, depending on their score, usually sell for a premium. 10s being known for the perfect score. So when thinking of Pokemon investing, 10s are really the area you should be focusing on as they have the most buyer market available and always fetch the best prices. However, grading is also very interesting because even if a card looks perfect in quality, it still may not score a 10. That's because grading companies also take the centering of the card into consideration. This is how well the card was printed from the machine and how well the image and the borders are centered on the card. So bad centering can cause a lower grade and effectively lowering your grade for something that's completely out of your control. Anyone who's graded heaps of cards knows that even though they might look perfect, they might not get a 10 because of the bad centering. Because of this, some graded cards and copies can sell for far more than the single of a raw card. For example, let's look at the Charizard from Evolutions from 2016. The singles price to buy this raw, even as near mint, is around $60 to $75. However, the PSA 10 graded copy would set you back 1.3K. That's because the PSA 10 is so rare. If you send this card to get graded, even if it looks perfect to you, it actually only has a very tiny % chance of scoring a PSA 10. Currently, as of making this video, the 36,000 copies which have been sent to grade, only 516 have come back as a PSA 10. That's because the card's print quality had some issues and the grading company can see this with their tools when they go to assess it. So as you can see, even though the card itself may not be that expensive raw, if graded at 10, it can 20 times in value. So this is important to know. Grading is a fantastic way to protect your cards and it's a great way to create a source of truth between buyers and sellers. If you are investing or collecting Pokemon cards or any other trading card game, having your cards graded by reputable companies is an essential part of the process. Now, liquidating and having a strategy when to sell. So selling is a very important part of the investing process and ensuring you have a strategy to sell is the most important part. First, ensure that you love what you buy. This is a hobby at the end of the day. But also be serious about when wanting to sell as well. Have a strategy in place when you're ready to sell. Holding on indefinitely may seem good, but really if you are putting money down and you want to have a way to liquidate some of these assets and make a profit, you really want to have a strategy for when to sell. I mean, this really comes to just having a plan and sticking to it. I have a video of going through some of the strategies for which I do, and I'll link them in the video. So in terms of having a strategy, here's like a little example of a strategy you might do, right? So maybe you buy a case of Pokemon booster boxes. Now, a case has 6 Pokemon booster boxes inside it, right? And you say, when the price of these booster boxes double in value, you will sell 3 of them, effectively making your money back and holding on to the other 3 for a later date. Then you can say you're going to sell booster box number 4 when it 4 times is in value, and you're going to sell booster box number 5 when it's 6 times is in value. And the final one you're going to like to keep in your collection. Now, that's just an example of a strategy. Of course, you can mix and match and your strategy is suited to you. But the key here is to actually have a strategy when to sell, so you're not just sitting with all these products indefinitely. And then you're hoping for a day where they might rise or they may not. The idea is if they do rise, have points when you sell. Now the final part is understanding eBay and seller fees. People complain about eBay seller fees a lot, but someone once told me something and it's always stuck with me and it completely changed the way I think of eBay. Imagine owning a store and you only pay your rent for what you sold. That honestly hit me hard because it's so true. If you own a store in your city, you're gonna pay rent regardless of how much products you sold. When the rent's due, it's due. eBay only charges you when you actually make the sale. Plus, they offer a lot of protection for both buyers and sellers. eBay and PayPal have fees that are probably a little less than 15% of the sale price. But in saying that, you're paying for exposure as well. You also get your money back guarantees, and it also has tools to help promote your product to the right people. But in saying that, when buying any investments, your seller fees need to be encountered in everything you do. Because even if something went up 20% or 30% in value, that's really not true when you consider your seller fees at the end of the day. There are other options to sell, but I honestly prefer eBay on a personal preference just for its simplicity and how far you can cast your net, even spanning international. But that's really all there is to eBay and seller fees. Guys, that's really all there is to it. Obviously, there's more layers and levels of complexity on the subject, but for this video, I really wanted to just be a real basic entry point to understanding Pokemon investing. Guys, I really appreciate you sticking around to the end. Enjoy your day, and hopefully I'm gonna see you on the channel.